Welcome to Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, the place for you to break free from the norm and celebrate your life, because what we believe in our hearts becomes our reality. This is Magical Moments with Alena.
Welcome to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman. Yes, we have changed the name and we have lengthened the show. We have heard you. We know that you love this, so we wanted to give you a little more. And we're calling it Magical Moments only because, well, if you're doing a longer show than 30 minutes, then 30-minute moments doesn't really work. Simple as that. So we are starting the new year. And so many of us are we're just not where we want to be. In fact, I know there are so many out there that feel like life has spiraled downward into somewhere that you don't even know. And I also know that when you're there, you don't even remember, or it's so faint on when it was good. I know this, and it can happen in a split second. We just don't even realize it's happening, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a position where we don't want to be, and a life that we don't want to be, and problems that we didn't want to have. And it's sometimes we feel like we cannot dig our way out. And that's why on this show, I'm bringing someone on. It's very interesting. I have talked to people who, say it's very, when we're addiction, for instance, or when we're doing things like toxic relationships, or we find ourselves just with very, very in a poor situation, can't seem to get the money to get anywhere. All these situations are hard, and they're all difficult, but they're not impossible. And sometimes it takes little steps. I'm famous for saying the baby steps, but baby steps in trying to get our mind wrapped around stepping forward. And sometimes it takes a tool of some sort. I remember from my time when I've been down and out a few times. Mine was more economical than it was addiction or anything. But in those times, it was something that triggered me to move forward. For me, it was water. I would walk my dogs to a park that had a beautiful river, and I would sit by that river, and I would think, no matter what man throws at you, or humans, I'm talking to the river, no matter what we throw at you, you still flow. You still survive. You still make it. I'm going to do that too. And it was something that helped me to get going. And sometimes that can be, it can be anything that really lights your fire. That's why I have my next guest today. I'm very, very happy to have her. She's been on before. We're going to get more in depth in how we can use certain things. And she's got a fantastic way. Her name is Lisa Bennett Matkin. And she's been teaching therapeutic approach to yoga and meditation for close to 30 years. Now, this is what I want you to hear right here. Before her more spiritual pursuits, she was an international model getting into all kinds of trouble. I love that. She dealt with her many traumas from that time in less evolved ways and became addicted to more than a few things. Okay, so guess what? The shiny apple isn't always shiny. So she had some problems, and she was looking for something else. Recovering from those wounds, and it does take recovery, guys, from the past has given her a unique insight into healing on a personal level. She is known to many through her appearance on the Yoga Zone TV shows and their line of videos. She was director of the Mind-Body Therapy Department of Health, a complimentary healthcare center in New York City, founded by Dr. William Fair of Memorial Sloan Kettering, where she developed a 1,000-hour therapeutic yoga teacher training certification program. That is a lot of hours. She has been on the faculty of Kripalu, which is very famous, Omega, and the Open Center. Lisa is the star of Anchor Bay's Healing Yoga line of videos, which are currently available, and she has participated in writing, developing, and producing over 23 retail videos and DVD releases. I'll have to check these out. She was a contributing editor at Fit Yoga magazine and has also contributed to numerous other publications and projects. Right now, she is on staff of the Tracking Project, a non-for-profit organization based in NM, dedicated to working with Native elders from around the world and connecting individuals to the natural world. I love this, Lisa. Through their network, she was introduced to the indigenous elders of the La Sierra de Santa Marta, Mother Earth Restoration Trust. She is currently participating in a women's council called the Circle for All Life, which is a 4-year training guided by the elders of the Kogi-Wiwa, and the Kankuama tribes. Oh, Lisa, thank you for that. Okay, she'll have to correct me on that one, I'm sure. But she also is a mother of 2 fabulous children with all this that she's doing to change the world, coming from somewhere where she wasn't happy. I mean, this is the perfect example. And with that, hello, Lisa. I'm so glad you're on.
Elena, sorry about those words.
Oh, I have to brush up on my Native American pronunciations, I think.
Just a few thousand languages to learn. So.
Oh, just a few. Yes, I know. And I have so much fun with them all. All right. So really, you have been on an incredible spiritual journey. I would love to go back, if you don't mind, and start talking about when times were not so hot. And those days that seem so far away, or maybe not. But these, what was it that finally triggered you or gave you the inspiration to say, you know what, I don't have to stay in this mess?
Well, thank you, first of all, for all of that. Pain is a wonderful motivator, and unfortunately, it seems to be my greatest teacher.
Everyone's, yeah.
I'm sick, right? It takes a lot. Survivor of many things, and so I have a high pain tolerance, and it takes a lot for me to hit bottom, hit the ground, and in that place, there was a great thing that I read a long time ago, and it was about a seed, and I'm trying to remember what book I read this in, but you'll forgive me.
Sure.
I'm not sure at this moment, but, there was a story about this seed, and the seed was, in the ground, and the earth is pressing upon it, and, as the earth is pressing down, the seed is starting to, disintegrate and crack, and it's oh my God, I'm dying, and, I'm in trouble here, and, but what it, it's just like us, when the pressure's on and we crack open, what ends up happening is then the seed begins to sprout and grow and, become what it's meant to be in its next evolution, right? And
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I feel like, I've had a few lifetimes. And so, grew up broken family, single mom, and dad wasn't really around very much. And it just really, I think, an angry kid in the circumstances of my life, and we didn't have a lot of money, and I was kind of an ugly duckling. I think that was I always felt insecure, and I felt always, we didn't have enough. A lot of shame growing up, and anger, and really didn't have the words or the support or a way to express myself. So I just kind of imploded, and what do they say? It's either homicide or suicide. And so I think I took the poison when I would be angry in different ways, and more self-destructive. And
right.
drugs, alcohol, food, pretty much any addiction you could pick, except gambling for some reason was my only one I never really got into. But in so many different ways, I just tried to find my self-worth and tried to find, that I was enough and that I was loved and that and then so many times I'd overextend myself and overgive and then I would kind of destroy relationships because I would have well, you're supposed to do that too if I'm doing it.
Right.
I have all these really dysfunctional ways of being. And
yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You just, if you don't have a good model, then you make it up, right? And so
it is. And I do think that everyone, that first of all, let's just talk about, you do have to. No one changes if they don't have to. And I think we're not the only ones. We get comfortable. And you and I, for instance, we haven't had so many comfortable places. And so, but when you do have those tough times, no matter what they are, it does crack you open. You have to come to, in order, I don't know, I would, Lisa, I'll tell you, if I could get people to see the light without change, I would do it in a shot. But it seems like people get comfortable and they don't want to do anything because nothing's broken. But when things are falling apart, when lives are falling apart, then they're willing to surrender and say, you know what, maybe I just don't know the best way. And that's when they start looking for other. I think that seed does have to crack open so that the roots can spread and the stem can come out and it can break through to the earth and start feeling the sun. Because if it was all comfortable in that little old dirt, it wouldn't do a thing, It's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Now, so when you were in this spot that was just horrific, and just self-sabotaging and destroying, what made you say, wait a minute, this is not what I want to do?
I think there were a lot of, in different ways, many little interventions that kept happening, and more and more painful. It's like if you have an infection in your body, right? If it's there, and maybe you put a Band-Aid or you don't really pay attention, but as it gets worse, just like any kind of situation in life, in some ways, something that's not addressed will get worse, right? If it's a real, let's say, dharmic lesson that we're supposed to get in this life, the universe, I really believe, on some level, we cut a deal with the universe and said, if I haven't gotten this by this time, can you whack me good, please?
Yeah.
And so,
I think so too.
Right? I kind of feel like that. So when I get whacked, at this point in the game, I'm kind of like, wow, what am I not looking at here? And so, but that took a long time instead of, feeling like a victim. But I would say, I think, the fear just became overwhelming. Like I said, there was a number of different steps, that one got me into recovery, another one got me into yoga, another one, pulled me out of modeling, which was a kind of destructive, not really a very good path for me, although I got to see the world, and there were all kinds of blessings with that as well.
Right.
But
I bet it was.
And when I found my way to yoga, I knew that I had found my home. I knew that I had just, at the end of the class, it was my first class, and I just sat there and sobbed at the end, and I was like, I'm home. And I knew there was no doubt that this was my, at least, I thought this was my complete path. And
I love that.
For 30 years. And
I love that. Yeah, to feel home, to feel something home for the first time.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. It's something that just reaches in and grabs you. It's either like something feels really home where you needed a safe haven. For me, I needed to know that there was the end to this tunnel. And that's what the river provided for me. It is something that reaches you to your core. And it's very, but you have, don't you find that, like, you were going in trying to get yourself, you were trying to get rehabilitated, you were trying to get off the addiction, you were trying already to take steps, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think also that, intellectually you can know and be told, but at least for me, I need to have an experience. And that's
Me too.
the only way that I feel it in my, in every cell of my being. This is my truth. So I always say to people, don't listen to anything I say. Try these tools and techniques and see what happens. Because until it's anchored in your body and you have an experience, that's the only way that you know it's an undeniable truth for you. Because my truth might not be your truth. Right? We all have our own unique paths. And so, there was a moment that I was ending my modeling career and I had started yoga and I had, gotten into, recovery. And I, at the end of my little practice that I had done, and I never would lay down and do the end of the class, which is, in my room, I was just doing it, right? So I lay down and I did what's called shavasana, where I just lie there at the end. And I laid there and I had this incredible spiritual experience where I felt like I was held in love and light and surrounded. And I started sobbing because I realized that is what I am always held in, but never recognized it. And in that awakening, right, I have that physiological, cellular experience. And now in life, if I just say my mantra, which is, I choose to be aware of the love and light that I'm held in, right?
Yes.
So back to that moment, and I remember on every cell of my being, oh yeah, that's the reality. That's truth. So that's where, these awakenings that we have, a sign or something that shows up in nature or something, a dream or some beautiful experience that we have to really have I'll call it a satsang, a community that validates that no, that's real, that happened, write it down, remember it, and cling to it because it's your medicine.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Really your right, and it's so unique to you.
It is very unique. Oh, I want to talk more about this because it is important building that community around you. You are listening to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and we are talking to Lisa Bennett-Maitkin. As you can see, she is fabulous. We will be right back.
This is Magical Moments with Alena Chapman, helping you find your inner self every Sunday on WOWO and at WOWO.com.
Welcome back to Magical Moments. This is Alena Chapman, your host. I'm getting used to the new name, too. And we're here with Lisa Bennett-Maitkin. And we were just talking about getting out of these really, if your life is spiraling downward, how do you get yourself out? And how do you even realize? And what happens when you do? And Lisa started talking about, you start walking, you start trying to go through rehabilitation of some sort, whether that's with addiction or with just getting your life back on track. And she was also talking about community. And I thought right now that's important because if you're staying with all the people that helped you spiral downward, it's very hard to get out of it because they keep pulling you back. Am I correct, Lisa?
I would, yes. I would totally agree with you on that one.
Thank you. So you were talking when you had, and it's not so much, you'll have to explain this. The way you said it was that it wasn't so much getting out, but to reaffirm that some of the incredible stuff that was starting to appear in your life was real. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Absolutely.
Could you talk a little bit more so people understand what that means?
Sure. I mean, I think that when we step out of maybe a community, friendship, relationship, whatever it is that isn't supportive of us, that isn't
it's hard.
Helping us to move in the direction we need to, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes when things are really difficult, in some ways, the lesson is to step out and to align yourself with, what resonates with you. And so, and sometimes you have to kind of sit into it and figure out what do I need to look at here. But, having people in your life that validate your feelings, that support you in the direction you want to move, and that want for you what you want for yourself, right?
Yes.
Are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with.
Because it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I want to make this really, because this is important. If you are, number one, if you feel that you need to change in any way, and you are saying, okay, I don't remember what it was like when life was good, and maybe I never had it good, but I want to try. And you have people pulling you back with, oh, come on, let's go do this. And you know it's against your grain now. You're going to get very frustrated, first of all, because they don't align. Like Lisa said, they're not aligning with you. And then second of all, as if you keep getting pulled back, you are going to get so incredibly frustrated and extremely spiral down further because you're discouraged. Mm-hmm. And so you do have to take the steps. And it's really not that hard because you're already changing your vibration. You're already wanting something different. People will come to you. Am I correct, mm-hmm. Lisa?
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful the way you said it.
Thank you.
You make those decisions.
Yes.
You do. You're right. You attract. And it's also making the choices one breath at a time, one moment at a time, over and over, to make the decision to move in the direction, I'm going to just say, of the light, right? And so, like we can talk about family of origin versus family of choice, right? Like we're all given a set of circumstances, family, community, whatever. But then we have these choices to make, as an adult. And so, you put yourself in these situations, whether it's, obviously I'm going to pick yoga, because that's a meditation, something to do with nature. I love working with indigenous people.
Right.
I love working with, people who have addictions. I like my, 12-step community is incredible. And so, right, so those I'm going to call them tribes, those communities, are just incredible. A lot of times people will be like, you live in New York City, how do you do it? And it's like, I go in, I have yoga, I have 12 steps, I have meditation, I go to the park,
No, this is, it's fantastic. It's light. It's light. It's filling your world with beauty and light.
Exactly. And it's how you think and what you're putting in your mind. I don't care what scenario you're in outside in life as far as people, but it's also what's your consciousness while you're there. So.
Right. And because what you're telling yourself is what you see. I have, yesterday, I was talking to she was 24. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul. And she was in a meetup I was doing. And I won't use names, of course. She'd be very embarrassed. But she's not in a terrible place, but she's very frustrated because all of her friends and how she's grown up her whole life, she's been surrounded with these friends from grade school to high school and the whole community, and it's a strong community, but it's all a community that is not striving. She says they just like to hang out and do stuff. She is 24. She all of a sudden has this incredible, wonderful empathy and giving and entrepreneur kind of spirit. And she's trying so hard to find her purpose, but she's being pulled back into this group because it's all she knows. So it's searching out new. And I was helping her do that, but it's searching out the new groups. You've got to find the groups that will support where you are and where you're going. And it's not that hard. It really is not that hard. You can look at other meetups. If you're a meetup person, look for something fun, something you're interested in outside, or something of where you're going, or join a yoga class. Take a step forward. Just take one step forward. I don't know. What do you think, Lisa? Do you think that's a good way to start?
Absolutely. I think in the beginning of making change, really you need to put a pattern in place because it's not firm yet, right?
Oh, I like that.
In the beginning,
right,
we want to keep we talk about 90 days, right? Like a 90-day commitment to whatever
breaks
it is.
Any habit.
Yoga or going to a meetup group or making calls and connecting with somebody that you have accountability with, or whatever whatever forum you choose that calls to you, arts, nature, spirit, whatever way that you feel that your heart calls you, make a commitment for a certain amount of time. And then in some ways it's almost like a fast, right? You would then decide to yourself too, I'm not going to call X, right, that person, or I'm not going to go to that place, or
Right.
I'm not going to turn on the, TV, or I'm not going to get on the phone after, or my, Instagram or whatever it is,
Yes, yeah.
at a certain time. Like, you have to have some boundaries set, that the things that are going to suck you into the drama again, right?
And
you're not picking up.
Right. And then fill it with something that you do want to do. So easy. Instead of getting on Instagram, do something else. Do a meditation. Go for a walk. Talk to somebody. Talk to a new friend. Get a book that you really, really always wanted to read, whether it was just fun or something enlightening. Fill it with something else, or else, oh my gosh, that's torture.
Yeah.
You got to fill that void.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of my really great mentors had said to me, when I was actually first getting when I was getting out of addiction, and she said, you do 3 unselfish acts a day, and in yoga we call that karma yoga.
I love that.
If you were to do 3 every day that no one even knew about, right? Like, it was just something you could do, like pay the toll for the person behind you, or
Right.
little simple things. They tickle you inside.
They do.
And give you this great sense of connectedness. And it's a game changer of being in the victim modality, like in mode of mind of poor me, and like, no, I can do something. I can be helpful in the world.
Yeah.
So being of service is a huge medicine as well, I think.
Oh, it is. Yeah, Cynthia Kersey says that too. You are listening to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and we're with Lisa Bennett Matkin.
Welcome back. You're listening to Magical Moments with Alena, helping you find ease and betterment every Sunday on WOWO and at WOWO.com.
Welcome back to Magical Moments, and I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and as I said, yes, this is 30 minutes on steroids. We have changed the name, we have heard you, and we have enlarged the show to an hour. And as you can see, 30-minute moments is not 30 minutes anymore, so we changed the name to Magical Moments, which I really like, because really it's all about making our lives magical and really enjoying and loving our life. Today I have Lisa Bennett Matkin. Now, Lisa, I'll just give you a little review of what we talked about. My gosh, have we talked about everything. What do we do when we find our lives spiraling downward? And yes, that's addiction. That's can be of our own making, destructive. But sometimes it can be all of a sudden you find yourself, you had money and all of a sudden in 1 week it's gone. What happened there? What happened when we find that we leave a relationship and we have nowhere to go? There's just a lot of things that can happen to us that can throw us into that spiraling down. And before you know it, we can't even remember what it's like to be living the good life. And so Lisa and we have been fortunate, believe it or not, to experience both of these in different ways. We come from different paths, but the same kind of results. And so I love opening the new year with someone who says, hey, you know what? It doesn't have to be. And she has some incredible insight into how to bring yourself out of that. So Lisa, we talked about all this, the awfulness. Now, you said that when you started going through your rehabilitation and you started to, you had to take different courses. And you said when you went to yoga, it felt like home. I have to tell you, it did for me too. So I really understand that. It felt like home. And talk about what was it in the yoga that helped you heal? How did it begin to help you heal the wounds?
Well, thank you. Yoga, this is what's so interesting I was listening to you say all of that beautiful information that we just were talking about. And,
yes.
This idea that, crisis equals an opportunity. You know, pain is a great motivator. We talked about all that. And it's like we want to do something, right? And so yoga, what I loved about it, it gave me something to do, right? It gave me what they call sadhana, which is a daily practice.
Yes.
And so no matter whether I felt good or bad, or it didn't have to be a very difficult practice, but it had to be consistent. And so, you know, every day, and it didn't matter whether it was good or not good. My meditation was good or not good. My pranayama was good or not good. My asana was good or not good. There was no judgment. It was just show up and surrender the result. And, you know, and so, like, it wasn't, you know, and I think at the beginning it's like, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to get everything's going to be all better, right? Like, right? And that's like, again, still the control freak willfulness of one, I don't want this teacher, which could be an injury, which could be a death, which could be a divorce, which could be, you know, a million different expressions of pain that we all face, that we are out of control with. And so one of the things that has come as a result of the practice is acceptance and surrender. And I remember someone saying to me, this thing really pissed me off when I first heard it. And it was like, you know, die to the pain of that. And I was like, I'm not going to punch this guy in the face, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not very evolved, but, you know, I was so angry. What do you mean die to the pain of this? And I'm like, and it's taken years to understand that's what yoga taught me, even though I didn't quite understand it, was how would I sit into the discomfort and allow myself to melt and dissolve that pain as I was breathing through it. It taught me a tolerance of how to be in non-action with discomfort and watch it be transformed.
To surrender. To surrender. And oh my gosh, yoga does teach you that.
Yes.
Because you are so contorted sometimes. And I learned the same thing. You can't fight it. Because when you fight it and you use the will and you're in that contortion, oh my God, you'll kill yourself. You have to breathe. When you're in that and you feel those muscles just really pulling, you have to just breathe. And it's so fun as soon as you surrender, as soon as you just breathe, all of a sudden the muscle relaxes. True? It's that surrender. It's just like life. It's just like life. It's
in the moment of acceptance, right?
It is.
Surrender. It's a cry. It's when we cry. There's a purity and a
cleansing.
Like death and rebirth, right?
Yeah.
It's that moment where we just give up the fight. And I'll just say one quick thing, that I had this opportunity to drive out to Michigan with my kids this summer, and it was a beautiful drive from New York. And I was listening to a book on tape and it's ancient book that I should have listened to a million years ago, but it's called the Tao Te Ching.
Oh yes, of course. Right? That's why I talk about it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was just, the Tao is this, to me, the embodiment of the Tao, at least from my own perspective and understanding, is this. It's almost like the exhale and that surrender and that dropping into, right? And I'm like, I think I know what they're talking about. And I'm so knowledgeable about that particular path, but I felt it. And that's what I'm talking about. If we can drop in, sometimes doing things is the answer, and sometimes just sitting into it is the answer. And we need to discern, and that's where that great serenity prayer, I'm sure you've heard of God, grant me serenity to accept the things that cannot change, to change things that can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Exactly.
What do I have to take action? Where do I need to surrender is really what it comes down to.
And it is. It's the first, I've always found, because I love the Tao. It is the way. It really is. And it's the flowing of life. And it is the understanding. Even trees bend. Everything in nature bends and flows. The only one that doesn't is us. We have to fight. We always want to swim. We must have been all salmon. We always want to swim upstream, make it hard. And yet, and yoga would teach you how to surrender. And it is a surrender. It doesn't mean you just sit on your sofas and say, I want $1 million or I want to get out of this situation. You have to walk through, but it's more of it's breathing. It's breathing when you're taking the steps. It's a belief. It's a faith. It's a total acceptance that it's going to be okay. I'm going to do this. It's going to happen. For me, it's surrendering to something higher, and just allowing that trust. Finally, to have trust in it. I know it's so funny. We curse it when it doesn't go well. We praise it when we're happy. We yell. We cry. We demand. I don't understand that relationship that we have sometimes with it. But it's a different way of looking at this wonderful source that's the universe above us, God, source, Omna, whatever you want to say, the one. I love the one. But it is suddenly getting into knowing that I am going to move forward. I am going to just breathe. This is where I'm at. It's okay. I'm going to just start moving forward. And I have all the faith you're with me. Don't you think? It's that kind of acceptance and saying, I know you know where I am. It's okay. It's okay. This is where I am. I learn from it and I move forward from it. And I have you. You know?
And it's that gratitude. To me, the practice is a very active gratitude practice that comes, and then you see all the hardship was a gift. And you know, like there's this practice that I do every day that comes from the Mohawk tradition that's called the Thanksgiving Address, where you go outside and you speak to nature and you thank all the levels of creation. And what's been so incredible to me is that it's created this rapport that I never really even understood. I wasn't brought up in this tradition. And so, you know, and yoga is all based on nature. But I never really got that nature could actually speak back to me through different times and different experiences.
It can.
What has taken me in this direction of really working with all of the indigenous people is that there's such a reverence and an understanding and the healing power of nature, and to feel never alone when you're held in the arms of nature, and to thank it for all that it endlessly gives us. And then as you live in that consciousness, that practice, like the whatever was bothering you somehow just falls away. Like,
of course it does.
Falling, right? Like you were just saying about the water always flows. It speaks to us and teaches us nature.
It does.
Sit in its presence. And so that's what Sacred Healing Earth Arts, or the Shade Tree Center, what I have right now, this center in Garrison, New York, is really based upon, is using these different practices. And then really the last bit for me is turning your suffering into art. Like using all of that terrible whatever that happened to go out there and then share, what we're doing right now, storytelling, turning this into something that could be helpful to someone else, making a piece of art, writing something, storytelling, song, whatever it is, dance, and expressing and giving negativity a chance to be transformed and be a teacher.
Yes.
Is the other piece for me.
And it's amazing when you start to create, to do, you know what I mean? And to dance and to release. All of a sudden, when you're going through it, when you're going through the lesson, let's say, it's very hard to find the lesson. Let's be real, and really, there is a step to things. You're not going to. I have people saying, "Why am I going through this?" Well, you're too much in the thick of it to really see it. You're in the trees. You've got to get above the trees to be able to see why it's happening. So let's get you out of the trees and above it first. And so you have to start moving. But then when you start to create and you start to you've got that abandonment and you start to just move it forward in storytelling or write. That's why I started writing. Just writing, journaling. That was my way, my outlet of telling my story and just getting it out of my body and onto a piece of paper. And for you, it was the yoga and the creation. This stuff helps you. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, that was the lesson. Oh, I get it now. Mm-hmm. I really do think that's where the process comes. We can't. we have to allow for the unfoldment. And what you're talking about is a total unfoldment. And it comes with that surrender and walking. And when you do the unfoldment, then the healing process is so much less painful. It still can be painful, but it's a lot less painful than just jumping and expecting everything to be different. Do you see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what's nice as you establish these practices and hone the skills of problem solving and practice and, whatever, you put those things in your life on a daily basis, you then, it's just like automatic that you reach for that rather than some kind of destructive habit. That's what's kind of
perfect.
Wonderful. Like, oh, difficulty. Okay, Jim, turn the knob up on, more time in nature, more time in writing, more time in painting, more time in, my meditation, more time in my practice, right? Yeah. More time with my friends that give me good counsel and good advice, right? And
right, so exactly.
More time prayer and affirmations and gratitude. So you have the toolbox.
You have to have the structure. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Every awakening I have had, almost every awakening, has been out in nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been out in nature. I can't stress enough to people that if you are not getting out there, you really should. And just allow yourself to be, to listen, to see. And at first you'll think, why am I out here? But the stillness. I went out to a park here in my town, and it was cold. It was so cold. But I was standing it was a sunny day, and I was standing on this little bridge, and the pond was frozen. And I got real quiet, and the patterns, all of a sudden my heart just slowed down. I could hear the woodpecker and the pattern of him moving down the tree looking for insects. And the water started, I could hear it. I could actually hear it expand, contract and expand. And I was hearing life. And that's what you start to hear. You start to hear reality. You start to hear the patterns, the universe, the rhythm of the universe. That's what happens when you get out into nature. And that's why it's so healing.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, I don't know if we have a moment, but the indigenous people that I work with, the tribes that were the Kogi, the Wiwa, the Kankwamo, and the Waku in the La Sierra Valley.
You say that much better than I did.
It took me a long time to get it, don't worry. but I'm going there in Colombia in January, and, I'm actually hosting here in New York, a beautiful women's circle. Now they've just allowed us to bring in men as well. It's called the Circle for Our Life, and it's for those who choose to weave positivity into the consciousness of creation, into the world.
Yeah.
Full positivity.
Perfect.
And one of their things is that they spend years in cultivating the ability to divine what the Mother Earth is saying.
Yes.
Years and years, they develop this ability, and they're encouraging us to really deepen that rapport, as all indigenous cultures do, is to remember this is what sustains us, is this being that they...
It's beautiful Mother Earth. Yeah.
Yes,
and it's how the universe...
She's calling us right now because she's in trouble. And so we have an urgent call to show up and to deepen our relationship with her. And they're saying it's a very, to me, like, we talked about our bottom. And right now, in some ways, they're saying that she's at a bottom and that she really needs us to awaken to our relationship to her and to listen to what she has to guide us with. And
I agree. It's time. It's very time. It's time for all of us. You are listening to Magical Moments, and I'm Alena Chapman, and we'll be right back because Lisa is going to tell us a little bit about the sacred yoga. How's that different from normal?
Your Sunday afternoon continues with Magical Moments featuring Alena Chapman right now on WOWO.
Welcome back to Magical Moments. I'm your host, Alena Chapman, and we're here with Lisa Bennett-Matkin, and I think we have covered a lot of cool ground. We're getting you from A to Z, how to get out of wherever you are, that you're really spiraling downward into actually loving life and doing something you really love and waking up every morning amazed. But I really want to get to her forte. And I want to do the very favorite part of this show right now. The shift. And Lisa, this is the time that is the aha moment. What brought you into this wonderful sacred yoga? I mean, what is sacred yoga? How's it different? You know what I mean? What's that aha moment?
I think for me, it's to awaken to what what you came here to do. Like, what is your dharma? In the moment, if we were all completely aligned with what we, on the deepest essence of our being, to access our greatest faculties, to find the part of us that was most unique, that we were, the piece of the puzzle, the mosaic, that this oneness of all of us come together, that our uniqueness, what we're here to fulfill, that yoga helps to cultivate that awareness and that awakening to that which we are, that we can only, right? fulfill.
Yes.
And so there's,
yes.
right? I mean, for me, that's really the difference between being able to, like win yoga, like they say, like we used to joke around. You win yoga when your chin can touch your tailbone? No.
Then I'm doomed.
Right? This is like not acrobatics.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's not about going out for coffee afterwards. It is a sacred thing. Can you give us a little more? I mean, I want to know about why is it? How does yoga really help us to find the purpose? We talked about how it helps us to accept, to understand acceptance. But what really is sacred yoga? Yeah.
So again, what's so fascinating to me is that I'm working on a book.
Yes.
It brings a bunch of different paths together that I've been, walking, and yoga is the main thread. But, and the idea that we need to purify, right? That's kind of the first step.
Sure.
We need to put down what's dysfunctional, what's not working, what's, making us ill. And then we really do need to kind of make our amends. We need to heal our resentments, our negativity, right? That's all that process of purification in the yamas and the niyamas, which is before asana, before the poses. Classically, you would do all this kind of cleanup stuff, which I don't even, it's so many yoga classes nobody really talks about.
Yeah.
And so what's so interesting that I'll send a lot of people to
that makes sense.
Recovery to make to have a forum to try to work through some of these things, and so one of the ways is, there's like these 10 commandments of yoga, I call them, and they're, it's all about truth and non-harm and, not being greedy.
Yes.
And really living along those lines and having a practice.
Beautiful.
And so what they're saying is we do that, and the indigenous would say that we then create internal order. We come back to the remembrance of who we are and what we're doing, which yoga says as well. And it's like we awaken to who we are and what we're doing here. And so that's a really cool place to be in.
It's a very cool place.
We purify, we heal up the resentments, the hurts, the negativity, anything that's kind of heavy on us. We want to clean that all up. And then we start to become reestablished and in the remembrance of who we are, right? And we start to continue. And you know what? Nobody does it perfect. There's a day, and it's like,
no. We do have that. Yes, we have the ups and downs. If we didn't have the ups and downs, we wouldn't learn. And so that's all right to have a bad day. But don't you find when you finally get yourself into a place of purity, it's not purity like just feeling good and knowing, accepting, and feeling whole, and just totally, I'm okay. I'm all right where I am. All of a sudden, don't you find that you start to discover your gifts?
Well, that's where I was gonna go. Is that in
good.
yoga, they say that we have these things called the cities, and the cities are these, these kind of what you would call it, the miraculous. And we call them the miraculous because you become more psychic, you become more,
yes,
whatever you're
intuitive.
Right. It could be many different things for many different people based on your unique distribution of elements within your own constitution will describe what your gifts are. And the shamans or the indigenous or that whole kind of branch would also, their abilities through this process too. So you start to see all these different kind of cross-cultural validations of walk the path, live your life according to your original instructions, do your highest purpose, and all of these gifts start to reveal themselves. And then the hard part is the universe then throws you another, okay, you got that next lesson. And then
yes.
and to use those gifts and tools.
But they're usually, because you've learned to accept and breathe through it, they're not as difficult. They're bad sometimes, but they're not as difficult as the first one that got you there.
Well,
I find.
Because
you learn.
With more grace.
Yes, more flow.
All we do is,
Okay.
and so my mantra also is always I choose grace today. And all kinds of things can be going on, and it's just no, I choose grace. So affirmations
are wonderful.
Absolutely.
I love them.
Affirmations are a mantra, right? A mantra is what you manifest. So whatever you're saying over and over again, that's your prayer. And yoga puts a prayer with your whole body, with all your sweat and all your energy and all your whole being. You make a prayer, and then you go outside and you connect to nature, and so you bring all these other layers of it all in, and there's more power. And I'll say one last little bit here, which is within our intimacy and our intimate relationships. That's another place where that's a prayer with your whole being.
Yes,
that's
it
a
is.
prayer of sacredness. And yoga means union, right? So
yes, it does.
Right? And so any place that we're in union, right, and we're looking to create union, that's a sacred place.
It is.
That realm is very we can up our game there. I'm going to say that.
It's a whole different way of looking at life. It's a whole different way.
Everything.
Everything.
All things can be consecrated. And one of the things that the indigenous said were, there's a misuse of our sexual energy. And what they meant by that is that we need to consecrate it. And that doesn't mean dogma. It doesn't mean there has to be all these kind of weird, religious rules.
No.
Can you make this sacred? Do you understand that this is a powerful manifesting force that you can create beautiful energy or unconscious energy, right? And so,
or disastrous energy. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Right. What kind of energy you want to develop? It's true.
Right. And so we're always going to birth something, right?
I love it.
And you do that in a really conscious way. They're saying we can heal all kinds of things through conscious union, right?
Of course we can. Yeah.
Right? So I just feel like whatever realm, whether it's taking a shower or a bath or washing your hands, your dishes, or mopping your floor, that can be mindfulness practice of consciousness. Whether you're eating an apple or you're, taking a breath of air in, whether you're making love, every single realm that you have, when you can infuse it with your consciousness, your gratitude, your appreciation, your presence.
Seeing it as a sacred moment.
It's a new way of
it
living,
is.
a rich way of living. That's wealth.
It's a totally different.
Your life becomes
in
that moment.
It is total wealth. It is total wealth and abundance. And it's the change. It's the magic of life. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show. I just enjoy having you as a... I so enjoy having you. If people want to get hold of you, how can they?
Satree.com, SHEATREE, center.com. And that's our little place out in the woods here in Garrison, New York. And we have a place in New York City as well.
Very cool. And for all of you out there, you don't need to keep struggling. You don't need to keep feeling like you have to keep going down and down and down. You have the power. It starts with you. Just start to say, I want different. and start to just accept and look for the beautiful signs. Start taking steps forward for the signs to get help, to find new people, just little steps, and it'll make all the difference. Connect to yourself, connect to the world, connect to Source. Namaste. And if you want to learn any more, go to soulmanifesto.com and you can learn all about what I do. I hope you like our new format. This is Magical Moments with Alena Chapman.
Podcasts by Federated Media.